Hello everyone, this is Jason from Primetime Aquatics, and in today's video we are going to be talking about one of the coolest barbs out there. It is the Green Tiger Barb, and these Green Tiger Barbs are some of the best I've ever seen. Hope you enjoy the video. This is the Green Tiger Barb. It is one of the coolest types of barbs out there, and these were particularly awesome. This tank was from Aquatics. It was Jeff Miyake's tank. It is an amazing aquascape with amazing fish, and I couldn't help but film it. We're going to talk about these awesome fish. Hope you enjoy the video. So, Green Tiger Barb, they are pretty much like the regular Tiger Barb, only, in my opinion, they may be a little bit cooler in terms of their color. Now, they are from Indonesia, Malaysia. Now, this fish is going to grow to about the size of around 2.5 inches or so. The females, males, similar color, but the females are going to be a little bit rounder. Now their coloration is, I think, the thing that attracts people to this fish. Not all of the Green Tiger Barbs look this green. Some of them are a little bit darker, some of them are a little bit lighter. Part of that depends on the substrate and the decorations, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. I think one of the things you have to keep in mind when it comes to tiger barbs in general, there's a lot of different types. You've got the standard. By the way, we did a species profile on the standard tiger barb. I will put that in the upper right-hand corner. There are albinos, and of course you have these as well. But no matter what tiger barb you're looking at, these are semi-aggressive fish. They're going to live somewhere around 5 to 6 years or so. But because they're semi-aggressive, you have to consider your tank mates carefully. You could keep these barbs, the greens, with other types of tiger barbs, so the standards or the albinos if you'd like to do that. The full-size gouramis might be a really nice option as well. Rainbow sharks, red-tailed sharks, Raphael cats, small to medium South and Central American cichlids. I've found that works out really well. And so your fish like your firemouth cichlids and your convicts and your Jack Dempseys and your green severums. You can go even a little bit on the smaller side with your crebensis and your keyhole cichlids. But I wouldn't go super aggressive with these fish, or fish that are really large that could potentially eat your tiger barb. Now there are some tetras you can keep with these fish, like the diamond tetras and the red-eye tetra and the Buenos Aires tetras. These are also more assertive, semi-aggressive types of fish as well. Your black skirt tetra might work out really well. If you're looking for fish that are going to serve kind of like scavenger roles, bristlenose plecos, Chinese algae eaters, pictus cats will all potentially be good options for your tiger barbs. In fact, if you're looking for some options and want more information, check out the description below. I'll have a bunch of species profiles down there of fish you can keep with your Green Tiger Barb. The one thing I would stay away from is any fish that has long flowing fins, because tiger barbs love to fin nip. That means your angelfish and your guppies. These are fish that are probably not going to do well. The other thing to keep in mind is keep these fish in a large group. I know a lot of times you'll read on the internet, keep your tiger barbs in 6 or more, and that 6 is, in my opinion, not a large enough number to keep tiger barbs happy. I would keep them in at least 12 to 15, a group of 12 to 15, and what that's going to do is it's going to reduce the aggression between one another. If you keep them in groups of 6 or less, or even 10 or less sometimes, what winds up happening is the weakest tiger barbs get picked off. They wind up getting bullied to the point where they die, and that happens one by one, and pretty soon, that group of 6 to 8 that you had, or 6 to 10 even, dwindles down to 1 after about 8 months to a year. So to prevent that from happening, a larger group will help prevent that. when it comes to water parameters, these fish are relatively easy to care for. Temperatures somewhere around 73 to 80 degrees should be sufficient. A pH of somewhere between 6 and 8, and water hardness between 3 and 20 degrees on your GH and KH. In other words, there's a wide range of water parameters. The one thing you definitely don't want to do is add your tiger barbs to an uncycled tank. If you don't know what that means, check out the video in the upper right hand corner. But basically, you want to have 0 ammonia, 0 nitrite, and some small amount of nitrate that is registering in your fish tank. Feeding tiger barbs is not a hard thing to do. We feed all of our fish North Fin flakes and pellets, and they will eat that readily. If you want to experiment with some frozen foods, they will gladly accept frozen brine shrimp and frozen bloodworms. Like I said, they're really not that hard to feed. Another area on the internet, if you look around and research the tank size for tiger barbs, the green tiger barbs included, often the recommendations are far too small. To maximize your success with tiger barbs, I would highly recommend at least a 4-foot tank. And the reason for that is you're dealing with a fish that is semi-aggressive. It likes to be in groups. Again, if it were me, I would keep them in no less than a group of 12, but ideally 15, 18, or 20 in a group would be really nice. To match all of those parameters, you're going to need at least a 4-foot tank, so somewhere around a 55-gallon or a 75-gallon. I know there are lots of recommendations out there that recommend 29 gallons. It's just not going to be enough space for a group large enough to cut down on their aggression. In terms of decorating the tank, you're looking at this one here that did a fantastic job. We've got rocks, we've got wood, we've got plants. The plants don't have to be real. You can go fake or real plants. You can use other types of decorations besides rocks and wood. You want to give them a little bit of space to feel secure, especially for the weaker fish, if they want to retreat a little bit and get out of the line of sight. The substrate color and the background color are going to have a significant impact on your green tiger barbs. Here you're looking at a lighter substrate, and I think that's one of the reasons why these fish appear so bright and green. Once you get into the much darker substrates like black, maybe with a black background, the fish can muddy up a little bit, not drastically, but they do tend to be a little bit on the darker side, and so you might lose a little bit of that fluorescent green. In exchange for that, you're going to get a little bit of a darker green color. So again, the way this tank is decorated is absolutely awesome. You can try to do something similar to this, although that might be hard in terms of the level of aquascaping. But again, rocks and wood and decorations and fake or real plants, but also give them some space for open swimming. After all, these are schooling fish. Now, I think the best way to talk about breeding, and I did this with the original tiger barb video, but I interviewed Dane. I went to his fish room. He breeds tiger barbs all the time. What he says about the standard tiger barb would certainly apply here. So let's listen in and see what he has to say.
I have at least 2 or 3 of those plumper ones, just assuming that they're going to have the most eggs. So then I pull them, put them into a container, and then I take them into the other room. So once I get my group of fish, I'll take a spawning mop and I'll take this container and I'll just leave it like that for usually 2 or maybe 3 days. It's important to at least get the morning cycle because they're gonna spawn when the lights first come on or once it's first morning out. Yeah, so you leave them in here for a few days, and because it's got all the holes on the bottom, all the eggs will fall through. You definitely want to put a lid on this to make sure they don't jump. But after 2 or 3 days, you're definitely going to have a good collection of eggs at the bottom. You can pull the adults out, put them back into their community tank, and start just focusing on hatching and raising the fry. And I guess, like, to answer Grant's question, I use mostly just aged tap water, but I do pull some rainwater from the rain barrels outside. So I mix maybe 50-50 rainwater with aged tap water, but it can be anywhere from maybe 10% of rainwater. And I think that just kind of helps with the natural cycle of like when they would spawn is probably after rain. But I'm not sure it really matters. Yeah, once you're focused on just raising the fry, or once they've just recently hatched, it's really nice to keep these white containers because you'll be able to see them start to stick to the sides of the container. So as they're absorbing their yolk sac for the maybe, I don't know, 24 hours after they've hatched, they're gonna just hang out on the sides before they're gonna start free swimming.
And so what do you feed them?
So I don't feed them for the first day. I think that's important for your number of fry that you're gonna get, because they're not gonna eat any of that first food you give them. So I definitely want to make sure that they've like absorbed that yolk sac, and then I start feeding them just the regular Repashy, whether it's the Soylent Green, the Community Blend, or the really any of them. The Grow, Spawn and Grow. But really any of these works well because you can just use the powder and you don't even have to mix it up into the gel or do anything with it. You just take a small little pinch and just enough to kind of cover the top. I usually turn the air stone on just a little bit to get a little bit of that surface agitation, to make some of that food, some of that powder at the top actually cycle through the water column.
Now, at what point do you switch over to something else, and what is that something else?
So after I'm gonna primarily feed them that for at least a couple months, but I will supplement in for some of the bigger individuals the baby brine shrimp. But I really do that sparingly just to make sure I'm not putting in too much food that's too big for most of the fry at the right size. I don't really separate them out the first couple of months based on size. I kind of let them grow out. I think that's one of the main things of why you don't get a lot of good fry, is that there's just too much wasted food at the bottom. And so your water is gonna become a little stagnant, and it's hard to do water changes on something where you have fry that are so microscopic. They can get through a lot of different like pre-filters.
So do you water change these buckets at all?
Not for the first couple months, no. Not until they're a good seeable size, you know, like where you can tell that they're all swimming around, they're all more or less, you can tell what type of fish they are. But I will do top offs. So I will top off with a little bit of just aged water that I have up there.
Sweet.
But it's mostly all just cycled through. I have cycled sponges in the bottom, which I guess is also an important thing to remember, is all those, like everything that's in there has been cycled, even the buckets. So like the buckets have a film on the walls.
Thanks again for watching. Again, if you want more information on fish to keep with your tiger barbs, check out the description below, and we'll see you in the next one.